James, how are you doing?
I'm trying to.
How are you? It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a long time. You've been working. What?
Yo, wait, hold up. I didn't know where I started.
I love it.
No.
Hey, that's not what I did. That's not true.
I'm good. It's been a minute.
No, how are you?
I'm good.
Are you sure you're awake?
100%.
You know, it's good to see you.
It's good.
I haven't seen you in like 8
It's
years.
been a minute. Yeah, every time I invite you out and then you don't come.
You invite me over, but I don't have
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Oh,
Should I tell them everybody what's going on?
Really?
I will say thing.
You mean you say it?
I just asked James how he's doing. Yes. And he said he's fine. Mm-hmm. How are you really doing?
Mm-hmm. I'm okay, I guess. I'm all right.
We'll find out.
Let's go. How are you doing?
I'm tired.
This thing
Taking a bit of a while, but I'm getting along.
You see, so it's so funny how when we ask people how you're doing and they say I'm well, I'm fine, but deep down, you know, they're not fine.
Yeah.
But then they'd rather not say, like the way you answered and said I'm tired. You know, you rather say I'm fine just to keep it moving.
Yeah.
But really, the thing is, and how many of us ask questions and we actually want to hear the answer? You know what I'm saying? Well, when I ask you how you're doing, and you tell me you go on a tangent, I'm like, hey, there's something happening to James. I mean, I just asked a simple how are you? But if we don't care, why did you even ask? Like, you know. But you know, how do we even know? For instance, like, what are some of the signs, you know, to actually see, to know if someone is actually doing okay when we ask the person how they're doing?
I think it depends on your relationship with the person, right? And how well you know the person, right? Because our eyes communicate a lot, right? And so if you know somebody well enough, usually you can tell, you know, from things like their eyes.
Yeah, that's why we wear glasses.
That's why we wear glasses. Don't look, because when you have direct eye contact, you can pick up a lot.
Yeah.
And so somebody who doesn't want you to, for example, when you find them kind of like looking away, not able to maintain contact because they're afraid that you might see through that.
Yeah.
Right. And if you know somebody well enough to, then you might sense, because we carry a lot of tension in our jaw, kind of like,
Right.
So all of those things. So like the way James said on fire.
Might be saying,
right? James, okay, go. Okay, let's do it again.
How quick they are to say that I'm fine. Like, I don't even want to pause and think about the question.
I feel like it's like a social greeting. I haven't really taken time to think about it the way you are addressing it. It's just that when someone says, how are you? It's automatic. You say, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it also depends on the place, right, and the person. Like, in a social setting, if you know that if I start to really tell you how I'm feeling, like,
what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
How emotional might I get? So maybe in a more private setting, you might be more likely to
solve the problem. Why are you there?
ask me. I'm going to give you money. If I ask you for money,
yeah, but I like that. You never solve the problem. But it says a problem half shared is half solved. That's what they say, right? Yo, you don't believe in that, James.
James doesn't.
Is it?
A problem.
Okay. So my thing is, right, I feel like it just doesn't happen overnight. You might have been through certain scenarios that may have pushed you to talk to certain people once, twice, 3, 4, maybe, you know, more than 4 even. And sharing the problem doesn't necessarily do much. So then, in the end, what's the point?
Yeah.
Think about it and ask yourself, what's the point? Because if I'm going to have to talk to you and you talk to me, that will make me feel good, but only to a point.
Yeah.
What I actually need to solve the problem is still there.
Yeah, but you need an outlet though, don't you?
Yeah, but then after the outlet, the problem is still there. You know, I feel like it's just like a temporal solution, which is good enough. It would take you for maybe like some hours, a day or two, maybe. But then the reality will still come back. And then you go like, okay, so now what next? Are you now looking for somebody else to now go and release or vent out to, or like the problem won't go away. So I think it's more selective when it comes to who you want to open up to. You go to people that can actually help. And them talking to you or trying to help you feel better is even like an icing on the cake. But you won't just go about just wanting to find a friend just to vent out. To me, I feel like that you still need a solution. Yes.
So in our case, for instance, you're a psychologist.
Yes.
And this is something that is not very popular in Ghana.
No.
Where you go and sit in front of somebody and try to talk to the person. Someone who doesn't care. But and then all I see is you're scribbling something on the paper, and I'm thinking, Madam, I'm talking, come here. It's not very popular. So again, like James said, sometimes you want to speak to somebody, but you want to solve the problem, right? So ideally, we'll go to a pastor. From my way. Speak to an elderly person about it. They had experience, but really, I mean, I saw something on social media, somebody saying that I tell my mom all the time that the fact that she's old doesn't mean that she has all the answers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I go and see an elderly person, the fact that the elderly person is old doesn't mean that they have all the answers. So you have to see a professional. Now, again, what is the job of a psychologist really? Because like I said, you are scribbling something on paper. You don't know me. You don't care about me. So why should I come and tell you what you should be?
That's a really good point. And the job of a psychologist, simply put, is psychologists are supposed to have studied human behavior, the human mind, how things like our thoughts, our emotions work. And so the job of a psychologist is to take that knowledge and apply it to your unique situation to help you figure things out. Right? So a psychologist doesn't necessarily provide you with the solutions or the answers, but kind of like creates a safe enough environment for you to try and explore and figure out the answers and the solutions and the way forward by yourself. So briefly, that's what a psychologist.
It's fair to say that even with issues, the problem lies in your hands. You are actually the master of it.
You are the solution. You are the one who will have to figure it out. But maybe the way a psychologist is different from maybe a friend or somebody who knows you is that we are supposed to be able to have a sort of like a non-biased sort of like lens.
Yes.
So that if there are any blind spots that you may have or family might not be able to tell you because of how they feel about you, a psychologist might be able to say, hey, maybe you might be the problem. You did this or this or this or that. So just providing that environment to sort of like guide you through or to a solution when you're navigating.
So James, I think the fear of being judged is one of the reasons why we don't.
So let me give an example. I've had friends who have tried many times to invite me to their church, to come to their church. And I mean, we all say the same word. It doesn't really matter. If it's jollof, when I go to this restaurant, that's just it's whether it's the quality that matters, right? Okay. And in my opinion, I don't just want to go to church and just go to church and go. I want to be able to talk to someone when I have some challenges. The church is supposed to feel like a very safe place, right? Where I can ask and go like, okay, this is what I'm going through. But the fear of being judged. So it's agape, right? That's my choice because he's a foreigner, right? So he wouldn't know me as much as this other Ghanaian pastor or that other Ghanaian pastor because a human is a human. I'm not judging. But he might probably confide in his wife that this is what James did. I'm not saying that's what. But there's always a what if. That might end up somewhere, and somewhere before you realize it's already out. So it's like, even for that alone, I wish that there will be some kind of like a level. I don't know what the privacy is. But privacy is not the word. Like a bit of a discreetness.
Yes.
So that you feel safe with whatever information that is also number one. My thing about your submission is that. So I feel like some people might really find it helpful getting the guide and all of that. But the fact that the problem still boils down to you, obviously you don't expect every psychologist to be solving all of your problems, right? But after you see the psychologist, then
Then what's next?
Then what next?
Then what? That's a good point. I think in that regard, you can also, a lot of people also come to therapy as more of like a tool gathering process, right? So yes, after I see the psychologist, he or he might help me navigate through this particular problem. But in the process of that, I am learning ways to be able to navigate other problems on my own outside of therapy, right? So whether I'm picking up skills to be able to have difficult conversations, skills to know how to emotionally regulate myself, skills to know how to set and enforce boundaries that I can do when my therapist isn't present. The idea then is that when you're done with therapy, you have those tools. If it's done successfully and well, you have those tools to be able to navigate problems on your own later. But the truth is, some people are in therapy for years, right?
Some people have been in therapy for 10, 15 years.
Yeah, for years, right? I know. I see James.
Like, it's like, I said, how often are you going to be going to see somebody and saying the same thing, all different things over and over? Even the psychologist, don't you even get tired of having like that recurring patients? Like, I just need to understand how it works.
Yeah, I mean, the human in you does, right? But typically, people who've been in therapy for years, you have to keep in mind, some people are dealing with, some deeply traumatic things, right? Maybe some things that happened to them in their childhood, whether it's different forms of abuse, even into adulthood, right? And those kind of things can take years, right, to try and work through. And then there are people who come for short-term things. They're trying to make a big decision about something and they just want a sounding board, somebody who is neutral and can kind of give them perspective. And then there are people who kind of go in and out of therapy. You have people who start therapy, the immediate problem is solved, they go about, another problem comes up, they come back. So I think different people have different experiences with therapy. But, just speaking to what you're saying, so there's this whole idea of confidentiality, right? Is what you tell me really going to stay years? Confidentiality. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, people have had terrible experiences with some therapists where what you go and share in confidence, before you realize it's out there. It's out there. So it's a very valid concern for a lot of people.
Want to do, because James has spoken like a real man.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men are solution oriented.
Absolutely.
We've been told that, when there's an issue, your spouse or your friend, your male friend, usually would look at it objectively and tell you as is.
Yeah.
So my question is, where does someone like that, who comforts the comforter, who counsels the counselor? You see, that's where a psychologist comes in. But then the confidentiality also becomes a problem. So maybe, what do we do?
Oh, that's the thing. We're trying to figure out what to do. Now, to get just slightly technical here, actually, there are laws in this country that govern that, right? So as a psychologist, I'm registered with a body called the Ghana Psychology Council. And every year, I'm supposed to be relicensed.
Right.
And so somebody comes to me, let's say James comes to me, he's starting therapy. One of the first things we do is we have to sign a confidentiality agreement that is legally binding, right? James keeps a copy, I keep a copy. Now, in the instance of ever feeling as though, this thing I only told Dr. Carol, and now I'm hearing it. The person was like, I only told Dr. Carol, now I'm hearing it.
Yeah, somewhere.
But I use your case as an
Excellent.
That is.
The information is that you have to do it.
Right? James is supposed to be able to take that document and go to the law, go to court and say, right, this document guarantee that everything I said to this lady should have remained confidential, but that confidence has been broken.
But how is it going to break?
Well, then he has to be like, yeah, I heard it here. I told you are the only one I told. I've heard it here. I've seen it in this newspaper. I've heard it discussed on this blog. And then there should be legal ramification.
Right.
We are getting to a point in this, and in other countries, they do it much better than we do.
Yeah.
But we are getting to a point in this country where, so the body has just been given the power by the government to kind of like oversee all of that. And I feel as though once structures like that are in place and people can see that those structures actually work, maybe it'll help with real valid fears that people have.
No, James, I know that, the saying, boys don't cry, so for instance, there's a funeral and, your sister is crying and as soon as you start crying, James, hey.
How does that
make you feel as a man? Because, I remember Dr. Carol said something, we did a Wellness Fest a few weeks ago and Dr. Carol said, look, the fact that women probably would share easily doesn't make us more vulnerable than the men. Right? It's harder for the men to share.
It is actually.
It is for the women.
No matter how I don't care, spirited person that you are, there are still some things that you just don't want people to find out.
Yeah.
You know, because a man is like a symbol of strength. So if you, as a man, you self you did cry, then what's your make, you know, your other, your siblings, like.
Yeah, but I don't think that's fair, though.
Yeah,
I think that's that's not fair on you.
Yeah, it's not. It's like, let's not even talk about even a man self per se, right? Just a little bit of context. If you're like on TV, a TV person, right, and you're having an argument maybe on the street, if you were not, unless it's someone mistakenly scratched your car, there's a way you're going to vent out. Give the guy whatever he deserves, like just
Take you. Yes.
But if it's you and you're out to the car trying to have that kind of just don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's actually like the same thing. Yeah, so don't do that.
That's true.
That part, I would say I've been able to conquer, because I don't want to be boxed in a certain place where I can't be who I want to be. So there are certain things that I was very stubborn, and I continue to do it in their face, just so they accept who I am, and not who they want me to be. So there's one thing that I learned from an aunt of mine. She said that whenever you're doing something, if you're doing it in everyone's face, it's not a biggie. They'll look at it and go like, But just because you're bold enough to do it in front of everybody, they accept it. But if you're trying to hide to do it, when someone sees it, then it becomes a big deal. That same thing that you were doing out in public, that becomes a big deal. So for me, what I'm trying to get over the man aspect with how you show emotions and whatnot, I'm trying to box. I'm not trying to get boxed in. So even on my birthday, I made a post. I made a long write up about what I was going through. It took me a long time to do that.
So you type deleted.
I was typing as I was going.
Yeah.
A lot of people read a lot of meanings into it.
Right.
That's me. I don't care, to be honest.
Are you sure you know the game?
No, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So I was in the room. I was filming in Abuja then, and I was just laying in bed, and I started getting calls. That's what even reminded me that it was my birthday.
It was your birthday.
I had not even done it. You do a photo shoot, stuff like that for all that. But I was so soaked in it.
It's very important.
Yeah, I was so soaked in the work, and I was so zoned out. I even forgot that day was
my birthday.
So I started getting calls, and I started getting text messages, and I was like, oh snap. So then I just put my phone down for a bit. Usually I would say a prayer or something like that. But in the course of praying, I started now talking about my problems in the course of the prayer.
Right.
Because I was thanking God, and I was saying, God, do this, do that. But then I realized the requests were too many. So I now said, it just hit me. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Because I'm supposed to be celebrating.
Yeah.
But then here I am, now thinking about my problems and how to solve this. Well, when is this coming back? When is the nightclub reopening? When can I start this business? When can I do this? Because as a man also, when you're doing businesses or you're investing money to something, no matter how bad it is, your people, your family have to know that you're okay.
You can't crumble.
Your calmness and you being okay exudes a certain energy that makes everybody around like you calm. So if you are panicking or you're in a panic mode and you make everybody else around you feel that, I feel it's not a good recipe, because as a leader, you can't be shaken.
Yeah.
No matter how
shaky it is, you can't be shaky.
Whatever fear that the soldiers at the back feel, carrying their swords and everything, going to fight, it's the same fear that the leader has. But in the movie, they are always portrayed as if they are like the
don't face anything.
They're scared.
Yeah.
So it's literally the same.
And when they call, that will determine the rest of the soldiers calling.
Exactly. So how your posture and your demeanor, everything, your approach towards problems, particularly when you have like a family, maybe a child or some people around you, whether it's your workplace, it sets the tone and the tempo for everything. And that's why I feel men usually hide whatever it is that they're going through because they can't be seen as weak.
Feeling pressure.
Even between friends. If let's say I have to invest, let's say $30,000-$40,000 in something, but whatever it is that I invest in hasn't yielded yet, I know it's going to yield. I'm looking forward to some money that's coming, but it's not ready yet. How to now open up to go and talk to somebody alone will make the person now feel like, what this guy did it, so far, like, you know? So that sort of feeling alone doesn't even make it easy for you to now go and ask somebody for something.
Yeah.
Now, what makes you think that other person too is not going for something? Now you're asking the person, and the person not being able to give you, it's also gonna make the person also feel awkward. Because now, they might somewhere. Why you come?
Yeah.
It's like now, you're asking. It might not even be after even 40K. Like it's something just. The person might still not get it for you.
Yeah.
You know.
But Dr. Carol, this is pressure. And it's necessary pressure.
Yes.
If you ask me. So how do men especially deal with this? Because mental health is, whether I like it or not, it's there.
It's there.
You know,
it's there.
I guess my friend of mine said that everybody's mad, but there's a method to everybody's mad.
Yes.
You know. But this, what James is saying, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And he's not able to even go to his boys.
Yes.
And even vent or share.
Yes.
Because they'll look at him as weak, or like, I did my somewhere, you can't ask me this, you know.
That's why I put the message up.
Do you get what I'm saying? That's why I put the message
That's why I put the message.
But then, so what in a case like this, what can we tell our men? Because really, we want them to know that they're not in this alone.
Yeah.
You know, and society has made it so tough.
It has.
For them, right? So for someone like with James' situation, is it okay to see a psychologist? Is it okay to confide in a friend? Like, where do
they go? That's the big thing.
You're very soft speaking. When you talk, I'll listen.
I know, right? This is how I sound outside of myself. And the guy girl comes out. No,
but Jocelyn, that's the big question that I think universally a lot of cultures are grappling with.
Yeah.
Because just a sad statistic, you know, when it comes to suicide, right? I mean, the numbers vary, but globally, you know, it's incomparable. Like for men are 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 times in some countries more likely than women to, I hate the word successfully, but kind of like commit suicide. And it actually, you know, see the not just that, but kind of like see it through. And you know, a lot of research has established that it's because of exactly that. Women, we talk a lot, right? And in talking, we are kind of like releasing, right? Whereas men, external pressure that a lot of men have also internalized for all the reasons you just shared, men keep a lot inside. And so by the time a man gets to a point where he's had enough, there's no kind of like walking back from it. And so that's like the real consequence and danger at the end of it, because for a lot of men feel exactly like there's nowhere for me to go. Right? Because either you will use it against me, or then, you know, women too will say things like, oh, but if a man is too emotional, it's not sexy or attractive. So lots of men also feel like, okay, I have to just it, you know, like all of those things. So where do they go? And what do we do? And I feel as though we are all responsible here. Because James, like you said, the reason why it's become such pressure is because we're all participating in it, right, in one way or another. Right? Whether it's the men who are opening up for valid reasons, or it's us, the women who are also contributing to, you know, the environment that makes it different.
So now, imagine me putting this thing out, venting out, because obviously I can't pick up my phone and call Jocelyn, call John, call Majid, call this, call that, or create a WhatsApp group. Like, I feel like, yes, I want to talk and I want to vent out, but maybe whatever problem that I'm facing, I will look at it, and I'm not saying Justin is a very good friend of mine, but I know that in whatever it is that I'm looking for at the time, Justin may not be the right person to me. Right? So I don't know whoever is out there who may have skipped. I share this very honest feeling, or whatever it is that I'm.
You were vulnerable.
And people were out there still saying, look at this person looking for attention.
Exactly.
With all due respect, I'm on TV.
Exactly.
Like, so if I want attention, I get it literally every day. Why do I have to come and put out something just because I want attention? What some people say, some people say, I want handouts. from people. I'm like, what are you guys saying? I did say in the post that I am actually working. I'm working. It's just that I'm not happy because I would wish that after I work, whatever money that I make, whatever that I invest in, I hope that it yields. Like, I see something.
Yeah.
But then when you invest so much, and you keep investing and investing, and you're not seeing anything, and you're just looking at it and go like, when is this ever gonna be okay? Because now it's like you're literally just making money and pumping it in without not knowing when it's going to go.
Like you're going into a black.
And now it's like, let's face it, it's very difficult to come by money in Ghana.
Yeah.
So if I'm venting out or saying something like that and people are just there reading me, a lot of people reached out. Jocelyn did.
Yeah.
A lot of my colleagues that I don't want to go into there, but they reached out, try to make me feel better, asking, because I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Those people who got me. And not that because I was just trying to get attention or just no.
Yeah, but it brings me to my last submission. So with a case like this, right? As a psychologist, when you see people online venting, talking to online people, right? No, I mean, case in point with James is obviously he has a platform, so you use that as an outlet. Like you're saying, do I put a WhatsApp group? I mean, where do I go with this? But imagine if like when you sit back and you watch certain people writing and venting and speaking. I mean, I see the comments like, my dear, go and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me I'm just a bolt or something? I mean, call it bolts and on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you have 500 followers. It doesn't mean that the 500 followers are genuinely concerned about you, right?
Exactly.
So for a psychologist, how does it make you feel when you see people coming online and they're venting and they're sharing, how they feel, deep dark thoughts?
Two things. It makes me excited.
Okay.
Not that I'm going to say this, but because when I read your post, I was thinking, because you were saying, what do we do? How do we deal with this? That's one of the ways. Like if more people, because one of the biggest challenges is that we're not talking about these things, right? Everybody is going through these things in their little silos, and everyone is going men and women like literally the same things, but nobody is talking about it. So when somebody, especially somebody with a platform, talks about it, you're looking. A psychologist looking at it, it's like, oh, this is great, because it's
human.
It's human, and he's showing that he's human, and maybe he's making it okay for somebody else who's reading it, who's going through it, to also feel like, like I'm not alone, right? We are the same, right?
People thanking me.
And that's the beauty of it, when we're able to step into our humanity, our shared humanity, and kind of, so there's that. But then with other people as well, you also realize, oh, this is a cry for help, right? Maybe this is somebody who really doesn't have anybody else to speak to. And so, like you're saying, has come online to try and connect with somebody. You can tell from certain people's posts that they're just looking for somebody to reach out and say, Charlie, are you okay? Right. So it's one of two things. I get super excited because I'm like, great, we need to have more of these conversations. We need to bring these conversations from out of the shadows and talk about it. And then there's also, okay, is this person okay? Like, is this a cry for help? That we kind of need to take seriously. Right. But we need to have more of those conversations.
So let me give you an example. Like when you're young, right? Youthful and all of that. You have all these friends, all these cool friends and whatnot. Friday, Thursday, maybe Tuesday night, you go party down and like there's always that gathering, there's always that friendship you have when you're growing up. But as you're growing up, as you grow up, you lose like a lot of friends.
Of course.
The responsibility. This one gets married, this one travels, this one has 4 kids, this one has this one is roaming all over the country. So it's like your proper circle that you used to have is gone. So now you have like friends, like you have a new circle. But for me, I'm not the sort of person that just allows anyone into my circle proper. I don't know how many friends who even know where I live. I'm very close. So if my friends are not in town, usually I'll just be by myself. I'll be home. If I'm not working, I will literally be home. I will watch TV from morning to evening, go to the gym or something like that. Yeah. But the truth is, I really have no one to talk to. Like, I mean, my manager's around, we talk every now and then. Even he's an introvert as well. He's out filming or he's doing this production. So when I'm by myself, I am literally by myself.
Yeah.
And these phone calls and whatnot, it's like, everybody chop what. So
Sometimes you're not even sure who is calling to genuinely actually be concerned, or just calling to fish.
Exactly.
Chat your business.
Yes.
So you rather close everybody out.
That's yours.
So when someone calls,
Social media.
Yeah.
when someone calls, you just talk.
Yeah.
It's just like empty conversation.
Yeah.
So if sometimes I just ask myself, like, is this it?
Yeah.
Like, so what now? Yes, you go out. When you're working, you're active. Everything is fine, everything is great. But then when you do have that moment to yourself, there are times when you just want the peace and the quiet, but then there are some times when you want to be with people, laugh,
But
talk.
just to come in, when you are on a big production, I can speak as an actor, and I know James can relate. When you're on a big production and then the production closes, especially when it's like a 3-6 month series, like what I just did with Madame.
Yeah.
So Dr. Power, I need to call you because you don't know what I'm going through. The silence can be infinite. It's almost like you start something. It's every day. You're waking up at 6 a.m. Coming at 10 p.m. It's exciting, and then suddenly,
Yeah.
that can do your head in.
I can imagine.
And I think that's why a lot of us are the way we are. So that you feel like when you go on social media and you speak, it's almost like that outlet because there's nobody else.
Yeah.
People think that when you are in limelight or you are, you're celebrating for something, you're never lonely. But it's actually the most. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that this whole thing of using social media is not all bad.
No,
it's just that it's how we take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, the way James was saying it, it's like some of the messages that he got were quite negative.
Yeah.
But then some of the messages too that he got was a lot of them was positive.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how do you even see fit? Like, just take the positive. Because we're humans, we're drawn to more of the negative than the positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's the do you have any?
Yeah, I wanted to, what you were saying earlier on about this, just the pressure that men are navigating and just the awareness that, you have to be strong and you have to exude strength. It's important to think about, can I at least work at creating, even if it's one place where I go to kind of put the armor down, right, and have a moment where I sit and be human, right? Because my fear is a lot of men do it, but they do it at great cost, right? And then for a lot of them also, it's not sustainable, really and truly. And so whether it's with a therapist or somebody you really, whether it's just one person, at least having a set, you typically refer to it as a safe space or a safe place to go where, okay, this place, once I plug in, I can take off the mask and sit. And sometimes it's not even about talking, just sitting with somebody who okay, there's no judgment here. There's no, I'm trying to get at what's going on with you, but like, I'm not sitting in this place alone. Right? It's important because men are human. I tell people all the time that the range of emotions a woman can feel, the man's brain can also feel all those emotions, right? It's just that men are socialized to be more comfortable with certain emotions because some emotions are seen as weak and right? But it doesn't mean that they don't feel it. Because you sit down with a lot of men who initially the emotion you see is anger, and you dig and they're either deeply hurt or they are deeply sad or they are deeply lonely. And that's not a very masculine emotion.
Exactly.
So the anger
is what comes forth.
Because that looks right. But the fact is, the emotion is there. Once an emotion is present, it's doing what it's gonna do. Right. But I think we have a long way to go. But I think conversations like this are so important. Right.
So my main issue here is, yes, therapy sessions, go a long way in helping someone, feel better and, look at life differently and stuff like that. But let's say maybe me and a couple of guys, we run a nightclub in Swiss called Play, and it's not doing too good right now. We're about to reopen. Hopefully this time around, it does good. The more reason why I was even putting out there. This was a cry for people to say, yo, come. But then everybody else was looking at it differently. I'm in a position where I want to start something else, right? You can't just wish for money, like from anywhere. So if it has to come with like financial stuff, this is where like being a man is also very tricky or sometimes disadvantageous, because if let's say you're looking for 40 40k USD, and at the moment you don't have,
Yeah, like 4 times. Is that how much you need? So we got
just you give it to me.
we got help reason. That's
So I want to start farming, right? I want to start farming, and I was just sitting down thinking about how I'm going to just like, you know, put this together, put that together, put this together, because the investment that we have in us is not, if you have seen it,
Yeah.
you know, like, that's what I mean.
Sure, yeah.
We have close to 40 employees there. There's a rooftop, there's a main club, and then there's an outside lounge.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole unit.
Sunk a lot into it.
yeah.
So now that is taking long.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research, and I've realized when it comes to farming, after you do everything, you have crops that take about 8 to 12 weeks
Yeah. Yeah.
just for you to harvest and make money.
Yeah.
So now that's what I want to do. So okay, the problem I have is I know that maybe at the moment right now, funds are not really smiling at me.
Yeah, because put them in something else, of course.
So now, if I want to start that, who do I call? What if she is going through that? What if he is going through that? What if she is going through that? You know, like in that sense, I genuinely need help.
Help.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And when it comes to those things, like I just don't know who to have that kind of conversation with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels some type of way. I can't just pick up my phone and call, just say, I'm looking for $40,000. Hey, John, I'm looking for $40,000. Hey, this, I'm looking for $40,000. So it's like once you rub your mind, like you start having conversations with other people, you might never know what's going to come out of it. After this post that I did, a friend of mine took me to a farmland.
Okay.
And said, this is what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he can introduce me to the people.
Yeah.
He has his own farm manager.
Yeah.
He has this, he has this, he has that. So it's like, he already has a rolling machine.
So you don't even need the amount of money you're even thinking that you need to start.
But then now, me putting out that has opened another door for me.
Yeah.
Which is because at that point, I didn't even think of picking
So
up.
you're saying is if you're speaking to a psychologist, it might not open that door for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say, I don't think it's every issue that seeing a therapist will directly solve, even though it will guide your path.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even after seeing the therapist, you still come back to that problem of who to talk to.
Yes.
That's where that problem comes from, because as a man, you have to be very tactical and know who you have to talk to, particularly when it comes to like financial stuff.
But then the process based on point of view, she's able to now literally that the solution is in her hands. So even by probably going to see a therapist, that's when I probably know that you have to probably go social media and help.
Because you might be surprised to know some therapy sessions literally feel like strategy sessions.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're talking through, okay, this might be a good person to talk to. That might be a good person to kind of let know what's happening. So sometimes it takes a very practical kind of feel where you are looking at solutions.
Yeah.
And the role of a therapist sometimes is helpful because I may see certain blind spots that you don't see as you're trying to strategize. So sometimes if a therapist is good, it's usually a mixture of, okay, this thing you're dealing with is difficult. So let's talk through the emotions of it. And let's also let's come up with very practical ways to actually solve the issue that you are dealing with.
Seeing a therapist is not bad.
No, it's not.
And it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But we have to see a therapist all the time. We have to have a therapist, right?
Let me also be really honest, if you can afford it, because the reality also is it costs money.
Yeah.
Right? That's
So you might say they look for money.
Exactly. I am with a therapist.
So the reality is, the sad thing is, I wish we, as a country would get to a place where, it's something that's heavily subsidized.
Yeah.
So it's accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Because ideally, it's a great resource to have, right? It's a great resource for everybody to have, not just people who have serious mental health challenges, but everyone, right? It's a great resource to have. But the reality is it does cost money, right? So yes, with that caveat of if it's something you can afford, it's a good thing. Because for a lot of people, it's just a place where they come and literally talk, right? But if that is not available to you, there are some other things you can.
Yeah, like watching vid. Social media.
Social media is great for that.
Yeah.
And even apart from you sharing, there are also a lot of great free resources on social media. A lot of, therapists like myself, mental health professionals who go on there and share great information.
Yeah.
Right? on social media, on YouTube, a lot of great information that, can be really helpful. But the main thing, especially with a lot of men, is we ask them to think about, do things that help to give you release. Right? If it's not talking to someone, a lot of people, you'll be surprised, a lot of men write, right? Write out how they're feeling. Some men do voice notes and then delete. A lot of men do physical. That's like
Go to the gym.
Yes, because for a lot of them, it's getting out a lot of that.
Yeah.
And
I do that, and it's, I do that.
Right. And the thing with working out is literally scientifically releases these, we call them happy chemicals in your brain, that you feel that high from all that energy you are exerting. And another thing that some people put it into music and art. Just we say if talking to somebody is too daunting, find a way to give it release.
Yeah.
Because the suppression is what leads to it just being too much.
Yeah.
And it just, blowing up. So if talking isn't an option, find something that gives you release.
We're about to round it all up.
And do it.
How is that that gives you release? Oh. How is that hold on. Find something.
Wow, Jocelyn, wow.
It's not too. I mean, it's not like it works. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Thank you.
And people have a great.